Hey, I apologize, all of you. The meeting has been gone for 15 minutes, but I forgot to tape. So we are discussing now the SLO situation. The first topic was the hiring of a part-time lab tech, and I gave an update of what the subject is, which there is nothing new. And the second part is the SLOs to incorporate them in the final exam, and Srini was commenting on it. Okay.
So this water stretch, that is, after the completion of the chapter that I used to review here. So I taught you something here. So I taught you something about rotational inertia, torque, things like that. What did you understand? I don't want the formula. What do you understand? I have been talking about torque, this torque, that torque is zeros here. What did you understand? The feedback was very bad. There are so many things. One, probably the teacher also responsible for that. Teacher did not convey the information properly to students.
Right.
Students are not able to assimilate it.
Right.
Because being a teacher, I take the responsibility that one here.
Right.
And then I said that is, you say you need a force. Can a same force produce a zero torque and maximum torque on a rigid body? No one person was able to give the answer for that.
Well,
No, this is what we don't want formula anything here.
Right.
So if a same force can produce zero torque, the same time maximum torque on a rigid body here. It depends upon the position of the torque, the position of the force, and the direction of the force.
Direction, yeah.
There are so many things.
Yeah.
This is what I want. I don't want the formula. I don't want this one here.
Right.
Then, as you said, having understood that, suppose I give the angle, the lever arm or something like that, then they know how to calculate that one here.
Right.
So that comes as the next part. I don't say that should be eliminated here.
Right.
That comes as the next part. So the torque is there. So for torque, I need a force. I must know the direction of the force.
Right.
I must know the location of the force on the body, all these things. So they remember. Then the moment you said lever arm, immediately goes for that one. Because lever arm is something some distance from the axis of rotation. Right. He goes into that.
Hey, the drummist. You are a talented guy. It's impressive.
He was tired.
You got all these 50-year-old people and make them dance. That was impressive.
I'm
Very
used to
cool.
it. They do that every time we play.
Wow, that's very nice.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So you are on record, so just behave yourself. Yeah.
Hello.
So this is one example I'm telling you. So you can go on having so many examples here. That is, what I'm trying to say that is, if they understand the concept of what is that, why is it that, then as you said, as it is given in the here,
Right.
you can apply the concept and then see how they apply it correctly.
Right.
Given the formula here.
Right.
The formula is one aspect of it. You say that it's hard for them to memorize the formula.
Right.
Anyway, give the formula.
Right.
But even if they give the formula, that I don't think many of them get it.
I know.
That's my feeling. Probably I may be correct or I may be
No,
wrong.
that's okay. Siwan, you had something to say?
No, I mean, with the physics class, I taught it so many years. Is that I think most of the students, once they get out of the class, that's it. Whatever you put to them, it's out the door.
Right.
They just kind of forget it. So, how do you use the SLO result? What do you do with it?
Well, so we get the SLOs, and we chose to use multiple choice questions because it's easy to pass a machine and we are done. And because we want all the sections to have the same criteria. So if each professor delivers the same questions, but he or she corrects, the result's going to be slightly different. For instance, I'll give an example. DP, who used to work here, he wouldn't give intermediate points. I give intermediate points. So each one of us have a different way to correct development. So if you developed I give sort of a rubric from 0 to 4 on any problem. So 4, it did everything. It states the situation, got the proper information, applied the equation properly, got the final result. And sometimes I give it even 4 if the error, the mistake, they didn't get the final result because it made a silly thing, like the calculator was not set for radians, but set for degrees and silly things.
That means you're
I
looking for the steps.
Yeah, I read everything. So, and I have students on the other extreme that put up a bunch of numbers, but there is nothing there. And it clearly the student got one of the equations in the cheat sheet and just tried to plug numbers. So that gets nothing. So in between those extremes, I give some intermediate points. So I thought the multiple choice would be an easier way to make us all uniform. It's a black and white, I understand, but that's what we are now.
For, I guess, multiple choice questions, it's easier to have the application-based questions than what he was
Then
saying.
the conceptual.
I mean, yeah, the conceptual ones, you would need to write more detailed answers for that, or at least like answer in a like longer version as compared to a multiple choice.
So you want to leave just
Mike might be very used to conceptual question in physics 1, right?
Is that what we're talking about? I presume that physics
Yeah.
1. So
In physics 1, most of the questions are conceptual, and they are multiple choice.
for SLOs or for
No,
exams?
in general.
In general, no. I have short answer questions.
Short answer questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the first page is true, false, or multiple choice, but the rest of the exam is going to be short answer or simple math,
Right.
application.
See,
of physics.
but in general, the test banks, the book test banks, comes with conceptual questions and multiple choice, like in astronomy.
Right.
And then you choose the option that is the right one, right? So it's possible, even in multiple choice, to come up with the conceptual questions.
no, you don't have to write wrong answers.
Yeah.
We don't bother about the grammar.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just gives a explanation here
Yeah.
like that.
But
See, for example, I told you about Tom. So it depends upon the force, magnitude.
Right.
That's all. We don't want
Right,
anything.
right.
You can telegraph English, you can write.
Right.
It depends upon force, where the force acts, blah. Finish.
Right.
I tend to look for keywords and phrases in the short answer. If they're
Yes.
approaching it correctly, then they
No,
get
they seem
most.
to be
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
But if they're completely way off base, they're using some other explanation, using momentum for energy or whatever. then
Right,
it's
right.
Like, no, you're
You're off.
completely wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, happened that is two years back, and over 2 years, in a projectile motion problem, to find out the value of t square the equation forgot here. He wrote the equation, he solved t value was wrong. And subsequent calculation used that wrong value.
Oh, so just carried through.
Yes, because t should be 3, but he is getting 5,
Right.
or double that, 6.
Yeah.
Using that CC calculator, that
So you have
all
a
the
propagation of
equations
error.
are correct, all the applications are correct.
Yeah.
Use the proper formula is correct. But if I look at the final answer here, it is
It's
almost
wrong.
double.
Because they're all dependent on the first
Yes,
answer.
depends upon that.
Yeah.
So it is an arithmetical mistake. So I took
Right.
it like that. It's not a math paper.
Right.
I am testing him on the physics.
Yeah.
He went wrong in this one.
Right.
I punished him, took off 15%, gave 85% for the problem. Because the application is correct.
Right.
That's what you're looking for, isn't it?
Well.
Yeah, I mean, if the first
Yeah.
answer is incorrect, but the other ones depend on it, but the approach for the other ones are correct,
As you said, probably we're applying for in the calculator here, he might have fed the wrong data here. So he's getting the answer is also wrong. So why should he penalize the student for wrong thing here? His way of doing everything is okay here. So I gave that. That's what we're
Yeah,
telling
yeah,
us.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do understand. I look at the steps here, rather than looking at the final answer here.
Yeah.
And then give the credit here.
So I will send it. I will send the questions. I have 2A. I don't have 2B because Olenka was going to work on it. Maybe she's done. I'm not sure. But if I don't receive, I'm going to send the 2B that I have it. So 2A, 2B, 4A, 4B, and 4C. and then you guys look at. I think I have physics 1 too.
The SLOs.
Yeah, the SLOs. So once you agree with that, that's it. I'm not gonna make copies like I did before because you are going to incorporate that in your final exam, and I need to have a. Now, I don't know exactly how we're gonna compute everything together because I have to have, for instance, 4A. I have your 4A, Mike's 4A. I teach 4A.
4C this time.
So who is 4A? Paul. Paul has 2 4A sections. You have a 4A, and we have another 4A sometime. Oh no, that's Paul. So we have 3 sections with 2 professors. So the results should be uniform. So either you take the final exam and put in an independent sheet and give the scantron to the students so they don't need to purchase, and then you pass the scantron, you have the grades there, and then Paul does the same, have the results there, and then put together, and then we can pass the 2 scantrons together, and then I have an overall result. That's what I want, and that goes to a matrix that gives the percentage of success of the class on that particular SLO. And then we have to do an analysis, say, okay, what's good or not? If it was not good, what was the problem? And then we have to, in the following semester, we have to introduce some strategies to improve the percentage using the same SLOs. And that's it. So once you complete the cycle, we are done. And then we don't need to assess a SLO again for a few years. That's my understanding, 6 years or 5 years.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But we need to do
the SO for 4A this time, for 4A.
We are doing 4A, 4B, 4C, 2A, 2B, and Physics 1, and Physical Science. Physical Science is another issue, yeah.
Oh, I did the SLO for the physics introduction to physics last year, but some of the questions seems to be more difficult than what I give on the midterms, you know.
So then
Yes.
analyze that. So if that is the case, email all, because I'm going to send the questions to all of you. So email all with your objections and say
Okay.
this question should be replaced by a question like this. It's going to assess the SLO and it's better. And then we make a discussion. But this has to be resolved, I would say, before November, because when you get November, you know, that's it.
Are there any SLOs for 10L, Astronomy 10L, and Astronomy 10?
Astronomy is a bagunça, as we say in Portuguese, it's a mess. We have SLOs for 10, but not 10L. 10L is all over the place, and I'm afraid even to...
We still have to talk about how to consolidate our labs for 10L, because I don't know what you're
Absolutely.
running, and I don't know, you know, I'm trying to follow your lead on this because, you know,
I know.
but we're not using the manual anymore.
Yes, the manual, the attempt we had in the past of having a manual was to make it somehow uniform all the labs.
But people didn't like it.
People didn't like it, didn't like the manual, and but I think a manual would be very useful for the morning class, which is becoming very popular. My understanding is an administrator eventually is going to look at the numbers and say, hey, you know, the morning lab wait list in the next, 3 weeks after opening up. I think we should open another section and move one of the evening sections to the morning hour. I think this is going to happen, and which sad because we have an observatory, but the 2 astronomy lab in the evening, they are not waitlisted yet, at least the last time I checked. So,
I will need to talk to you about what lab you're going to run the first week, for
yes.
10L.
Well,
that way we can sort of be on the same page.
I know the weather is going to be probably fine, and I'm taking them to the observatory after going through.
And then we're already splitting off because I have daytime.
I know.
So.
I know that's a complicated. The way it configured now, and if we can count with Rick Francisco, I think we should take the evening labs and make them mounted them on the instruments we have. right? And make more observational than stay in the lab doing things.
Sure.
And but I don't know. I can't pretty much think along these lines if we don't have a lab back there.
Anyway, I'm sorry to derail.
Oh no! But
SLO
that's
thing.
It's all part of the
absolutely
meeting.
true.
I guess so.
So are you gonna do the SLO exam at the beginning of the semester?
No. I think Mike had suggested in previous meeting not to do that. I think it's a good idea.
I think if we start with, to use the analogy of, a graph, 0, 0, where they assume they know nothing at the
Assume
very
they know
beginning. So use
nothing.
that as the data point.
Yeah.
And then the second data point is whatever we get at the very end.
Yeah.
And then make our slope.
Okay, so the first one will be the middle of the semester?
The first the SLOs, all the SLOs will be tested, assessed in the final exam.
Only final.
In the final exam.
Not in the beginning.
All of them in the final exam. So we have, let's say, 6 SLOs, so 10 questions, SLOs.
There have been problems with having the same questions asked before and after at the beginning and at the end. Some students apparently get dumber. They answer them. They end up answering it correctly the first time, and then at the very end, for some strange reason, they either don't fill out the SLO, the evaluation, so leave it blank, or they just do it very quickly, and they end up getting the wrong answer.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they were smart, and then they got dumber.
So that's a nice example. They pay attention in the
data.
beginning because they were afraid of some sort of grades or evaluation, and then towards the end, oh, I don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. They just want to get their butts out of there. So
Yeah.
they don't really. Yeah.
Yeah, they want to get out.
And that doesn't that doesn't look good on paper.
No.
It's like, what happened to the class? The people
So,
are not learning the right
I've been
materials.
delayed to do these SLO assessments because our grades are bad. And what the college does is this: when you go in your class and you teach torque, and then after teaching torque and doing lab on torque, they give an SLO question that has to do with torque, and then everybody get good grades, so 75%, 80%, so SLO is done. We could take this approach, but it would be complicated. Oh my
Or
God.
you basically set up something online where they have to report in after the torque lab, go online and answer this question. And it automatically gets all the assessments and then sends it to you or
It would be
whoever.
simple. It would be simple, but we could create that. We could create those landmarks. And
Landmines.
we will have, all of us should be using Canvas, and then we should.
Is everybody using Canvas here now? We're supposed to be, I think.
We are supposed to, but yeah, that might be complicated to have everybody on board with Canvas. It would be somewhat simpler,
You do
but
paper.
then we would say, listen, SLO is a. Where's my microphone? Is a bullshit. So let's do what Mike is suggesting. Everybody's gonna get some good grades, and that's it. So 70%, 80%, and we keep going, giving our class. I mean, we could take this approach, and everybody would be happy. I just thought, well, we are not really assessing. I went to this meeting of the American Association of Physics Teachers. And then they said, no, it has to be at the end of semester when you evaluate if the student has understanding the core concept.
And retention.
And then, instead of a memorization, oh, I know what torque is, I saw that problem, and then I can repeat the steps to solve the problem 2 days after, which is, 6 months down the road.
That's memorization.
That's gone.
Look at the problem, remember the problem here. Only you must know the method of doing that.
So perhaps in the future we might take this approach, but then we have to have all of us in Canvas.
I have an idea. Maybe you let the student take a quiz after the material. Like today.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the paper quiz.
Oh, the
after
paper
class,
quiz?
Yeah,
Not an online quiz.
not the online, because sometimes is harder?
Yeah,
or-
we
You just got to get
could-
everyone on board to do that. A standardized quiz for every section.
And then everybody has to. Well, we could. We could.
We only have so much time to do that, though. That's the thing.
If we do that, probably.
Yeah. If there's a way to like weave an SLO
we-
into the labs that we write up,
I mean, how are we gonna how are you gonna enforce that in your grading scale?
Yeah.
So
Well,
that
I
the
mean-
students really will put some effort to answer properly the questions.
they don't. The problem is at the end of the semester, they're so geared up to finish the final and get out of there that if you set aside, hey, these are extra SLOs, we'd appreciate if you fill that out.
Right. No,
They'll say,
don't do
no,
it.
I don't want to
They
do
do.
this. And then they'll just see, and then turn it in.
But what Van is suggesting, and you suggest too, is to do during the semester, which, I mean, in your case, probably online in Canvas, and Van is suggesting paperwork. We could, but then let's say I'm thinking about how to make this effective. So probably now the professors have to have the questions and put the questions in midterms. Is that what we want to do?
I don't know.
Yeah, quiz or midterm is the same thing. They will try to do it well.
And then
Okay,
we,
great.
for instance, if we have 12 SLO questions,
We put
and I can see those
4.
12 in a final exam plus the final exam questions that, for instance, Srini would like to put in his final. Would be
4
a
per
big
midterm
heck
if you have
of-
2 midterms and a final.
Well, then it's better than have 12 questions in a final exam. So perhaps it's a better thing to do.
Quick question. Is it possible to give the SLO a pre-SLO and then a final exam?
In the beginning of the semester?
No. In the maybe a week or a couple of weeks before the final exam.
That's
Give
what
an
we
SLO.
did before. It didn't work.
Oh no! Give a SLO like test and then but insert the actual SLO in the final exam. Do you think that might be possible? Because it's
I
like
don't
a
put the
heads up.
SLOs in
whatever.
the exam. The final exam, that's where it ends up.
I know, but is it possible to give them a heads up? Like look, this is going to be
Oh
the final
no,
exam.
I would be the first.
Oh.
You mean to show the questions and
No,
and put
not the same
questions?
questions. Maybe half of the questions, similar questions, but this is something like that going to be on the exam for the so that they can, hey look, they have an incentive then. They have an incentive to do
Oh,
better
I
on
don't
the
know.
exam.
I've been putting in previous taped meetings that I am very much against that.
Okay.
I know in San Jose State, I know of professors what they do the week before the exam. They say, oh, those are the exam questions. No, so okay, those questions, those are a study guide for the exam. And I know we had a professor here on weekends who would do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, these are guided questions for the exam, and then the exam question would be the same, just changing the numbers.
Another thing,
So this is
they
not a
get
good thing.
25 questions. I'll pick out questions only from that for the final exam.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Some people are following that. 25 questions or 30 questions, whatever, not more than 25.
I like that.
25 questions here. They study only 25.
I like that.
Outside 25, they don't study.
I like that. It implies they will memorize, but if
But
somebody
this
has
also
the
can
time to
memorize.
memorize, yeah, that's a good one. And then you change the numbers just to make it slightly
Not
different.
numbers. I change the concepts. So in one case, I asked to find, as you said, force. Another case, I want to find the velocity here.
In fact, I do that. I say, okay, you have all these homeworks, and I have these problems we did in class. I would take 3 exam questions from these things, and I change the words, and I change the numbers. So it looks like something different, but it's the same situation. So we can do that in physics, and I do, and I think it's a good idea.
I have a question for you, Celso. I mentioned this before.
Yeah.
You use clicker questions and clickers in your class.
Yes.
Why can't we use that for SLOs?
because then everybody else has to know how to use clickers and register the students. And even Sean Kemp, who has used clicker before, he decided not to use it because he got confused.
Okay.
But you can. I mean,
It's
the
fast
Abdita Breeze
feedback.
was doing that, as far as I understand.
Yeah, I would assume it's very fast feedback. All you got to do is take a picture of the screen. You have your stats
Again,
right there.
for conceptual questions, they are good.
Mhm.
But if there are applications, they can't, right? They have to.
Well, what are we testing them for? Like in the 4 series, the question, the SLOs are they conceptual or are they mathematical?
Okay, so this, okay, in 2A, I have 1 apply, 2 apply, formulate and solve mechanics and thermodynamics problems.
So you need math.
You have to yeah.
That's going to.
This is physics 2A. Analyze the static and rotating system.
Okay, so clickers would be out of the question for that stuff then.
Yeah.
Spend 15, 20 minutes per question.
No, let me see a 4A. Solve problems involving accelerated motion using equations of kinematic.
You know what?
You have to solve the problem.
How about this?
Predict the position and velocity of an object. Predict the position and speed of an object. Analyze could be conceptual. Employ the principles of harmonic oscillator to solve a more complex system.
Sounds
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
So those things there, they do in lab already when they're doing the lab and solving, right? Why can't we just have the labs be the assessment?
Because everybody has to be on board. I mean, we could. I can see one professor doing, because our labs, although they have the same material now, they are slightly different.
As long as it covers those things and in their own way,
we could.
wouldn't it assess the SLO? And it would not take any extra time. If they complete, let's say, the velocity acceleration lab using inclined planes, then they were applying the formulas. They were doing exactly just that.
The problem in the lab also, unless you do a buddy exam, because they are all working together. So how are you going to ensure they are not cheating or copying or?
In a group of 3 people, one is active, 2 are passive.
Hey, professor, we work together. We are sharing everything here. Why can't we solve this together? Because it's SNO. What the heck is this? So I don't know. I don't know. Listen, I'm gonna send the questions. If you guys find a nice way, I like the idea of breaking down from the final exam, as long as we incorporate in our midterms. Take the questions and put in midterms. If we want to do that, I think it's a good idea. And
do we count it towards their grade or not?
And count towards their grade. So,
Okay.
and then what I would need to receive is the statistics, the numbers, and then I would probably make some average, geometric average, depending on the number of students who took the exam, something like that, right? So let's say in your class you have 15 students, Paul has 37, let's say, and then I have to kind of modulate that somehow.
Quick question. For 4A, so mainly 4A or 2A, especially 4A, is mainly to prepare the students for 4B and 4C, right? Is that right or no?
Yes, yeah, you're right.
So that means in addition to SLO, they need to get into 4B and they need to be able to get into 4C. Ultimately.
Oh yeah,
Right,
no,
right?
they
That's the
have to
problem.
have a passing C grade. You have to give them not to give them. They have to have a C grade to go to 4B and 4C.
I
And
know
4A
that,
is
I know
pretty
that
rare.
in terms of a letter, but in terms of material-wise, they need to be geared up for 4B and for 4C,
Yes.
especially 4B, right?
Yes.
So here at Evergreen, do they go directly to 4C or they need to go through 4B first?
They
4B
can
first.
once they pass 4A, they can take 4B and 4C together.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They can take
Okay,
4C
okay.
first. It doesn't matter.
That means they gotta have the basics.
They
Yeah.
have,
In
yeah,
addition to the SLO, right? Okay.
yeah, it's
But how can they
mechanics.
take
pretty much.
4C without taking 4B?
I'm sorry, say it again.
How can they take 4C without taking 4B?
I've
Because
taken
Because
physics
in 4C,
52
you have
before
modern
physics
physics.
50 at San Jose
Modern
State.
physics involves electricity and magnetism.
yeah,
So without that, you cannot go to 4C.
It can be
you
done.
can. I mean, optics, geometric optics doesn't need
Even
to
on
know.
optics. There is modern physics, isn't it?
Modern physics is
Yes.
right now we are covering in 4C.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you have to do 4B before you want to do 4C.
It's not necessary.
No, not
Yeah, the
necessarily.
lesson they used to, they used to do that, but now you have to.
They is very independent. It's very independent.
But
The,
modern
the,
physics,
the issue is that students may not necessarily have the calculus background for 4B yet, and so they opt to take 4C first while they're taking the other class to get better at
No,
the
because
integral calculus.
4C also require Math 73, our calculus 3 or so.
Mhm.
Both of them require. You can take concurrently.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's, so quick question. So I'm not, because I only taught intro to physics, the earth science class, and also the astronomy lab. Right? So what kind of students is coming into 4A? You guys can tell me. What kind of students are coming into 4A?
All kinds.
Yeah, they
Are they ready?
usually
Are
they
they
have 2
calculus
arms,
ready or
2
no?
legs.
I know.
Most of them are calculus ready. Most of them have the background in calculus. They have no idea what to use the calculus for. And so you're giving them the means, oh, that's what it's for. That's what we,
Okay.
So
Your-
derivatives.
Your 4A student passed Calculus 1
Okay.
and Calculus 2, or is taking Calculus 2
So
concurrently.
their math is pretty good. They're pretty decent, man.
No.
No.
The calculus, the math is better than the math of a student taking 2A.
Okay.
The student taking 2A have intermediate algebra only.
Okay.
Jagruti, one thing that I was going to
Yes.
tell you, if you can, initiate your course with weather patterns because of Harvey hurricane, that would be great.
Okay, all right.
But I know
Talking
it's a
about-
big switch, and I thought about this morning. I don't know if you can
So,
do that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm going to talk about that eventually, but I can start with it.
Because
and
everybody's
ask-
talking about it.
Yeah,
or-
exactly. So you can start with it,
Yeah.
and then maybe I'm still going to do the climate science project that
Yes.
we did last time. So maybe starting with that and talking.
Okay,
Exactly.
sounds good.
All right.
All right,
And
good
if
luck.
there's nothing else.
No.
All right. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
I'll see you.
But the 4A students have better math preparation than 2A students. But don't expect them to, you put derivative and integral, don't expect them to know what to do.
but not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Because
I don't know how
I've-
these people are
I-
passing the courses.
Beg to differ.
honestly,
I
don't
had
know.
some fairly bright students in my class. They were
Fairly, yeah. But
not all of them,
no, not all of them.
but they had, I would say maybe 70% of them had the knowledge to be able to understand what a derivative is and what it.
Right. But to apply, yeah, it's a long
You have to be
shot.
able
So
to
the
bridge.
most like they have not had they have not taken like a intro to physics class of 2A. Have they
Right.
taken like a
Don't-
physics 2A class or no?
Some of them have, but
No,
not all.
no, they are not
So
required.
they're directly into 4A.
Neither introductory physics they took. And don't expect them to know trigonometry either. You have to invest some time in explaining trigonometry, projections, and all of that stuff
for 4A.
for 4A. Because they saw and they passed the
You mean
course.
sine, cosine, tangent?
Sine, cosine, tangent.
They've had it, but they may not necessarily remember it
They might
because they
not
know it from the
know how to
mathematical
apply.
background without any applications.
Application.
And so now all of a sudden it's like you're giving them applications with sine, cosine, tangent. You're giving them applications of integral calculus and derivatives, and they're going, wait a minute, we learned this stuff. I got to dust that off of my memory and bring it back now. It's like, oh, this is now pertinent. It's
I-
useful.
I'll give a good example. Do you know Travis?
Yes, that's right.
You consider him a good student.
Yeah.
Okay. He told me that first day in class that I put in 4A, it was my 4A class. I put in the vector projection, say, listen, you guys should know this. If you guys don't know, talk to me or go to the tutoring center, but I'm assuming you know what to do with that. He said he saw that before. He saw him at 21 and 22, or 24, if that's geometry. and then he saw in calculus, but he didn't apply. I had no idea.
Because I'm
And he
looking-
said, I studied like a maniac to be able to go to your class and do well.
Because I look at the book, the first chapter is just a factor stuff. So
Yes.
So I don't know what to really expect. It's good that you're telling me that. So assume nothing, basically, right? So let's just
Assume
start
nothing,
with the
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And because the factor stuff is pretty advanced in the math.
Here's some insight.
Mhm.
I was talking to Bob Lombard, the math instructor who teaches trigonometry, and I showed him the little projectile motion gun that you use to measure the height of a rocket that goes up using this thing, right? He'd never seen it before. He'd never heard of this thing before. It's like, oh, that's a really cool invention, that actually uses the angles and stuff. It's like, don't you guys cover this stuff in your trigonometry class? No, not really. We don't do applications. How can you not do applications in trigonometry? That's the most basic stuff there. We're trying to find the height of a flagpole using, the shadow,
Right.
and the angles and stuff. That's what makes it interesting.
Right.
What are they talking about in that class? To make it interesting, to make it practical.
Yeah.
Apparently,
So
he doesn't cover
Make
them.
very little assumptions.
Yeah,
They don't
make
do
it-
the application so much.
You get to know the students. So if you are available to teach these evening Friday and Saturday classes, the college is trying to build up weekend classes. So it's there. It's going to be, we try to repeat that every semester. And then later on, we'll try to make a 4B available there too. But you wouldn't be able to teach
do it
both.
in the spring semester.
So I'm a
In
little
the
curious.
spring semester.
Are those students?
Yeah, she has her son. I have one student for you guys.
Do they tire
No,
when
we
they
have a
come
whole
here
group
on
of
Saturday? Have you taught
From,
Saturday? Sounds like you
I've not taught
Saturday.
Saturday. However,
Are they
I
tired?
I've taught the summer course.
Alert from
Before I-
System UI server. Low battery.
You be quiet.
Alert from
The summer course was
Low
only
battery.
6 weeks long. It's the same material as the semester. A few of them dropped at the very beginning. The rest of them were dead on it. They knew they had to know the stuff.
Yeah,
And so
I've heard that.
they're very, very diligent about staying on top of the material.
Oh, okay.
Some students do.
Yeah, the summer ones, they have to be that way. Otherwise, if they fall behind a little bit, they're going to be done. They're going to fail. The ones during the semester, a little bit different because it's a little bit longer. They're a bit more relaxed. And so they think they can sort of like kick back and get through the class a little bit more. But it's going to be the same material. You may have some students in there that are not as strong in mathematics. And so it's going to be harder for you
Oh, yeah.
and for to get the balance of everybody else, because there's a lot of people in there that know the stuff. There's people in there that know the math but not the application, and there's people in there that don't know the math and don't know the application.
Oh, boy.
And so it's up to you to figure out how to do this, but you got to tell them if you don't know the math or at this point, then you might have to go back and take those classes again because you're going to need it.
Yeah, I think because the little bit concern I have is because this is like the foundations class, and they need that for 4B and 4C, right? So they gotta get the basics, Otherwise, the teacher is gonna suffer, when they go into the 4B, say you don't know this, you don't know that, So that's the when they get to 4B and 4C, they're gonna.
Basically,
Both of-
system of forces and energy. They have to go to 4B knowing that well.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's how we start.
Yeah, for the magnetism stuff too.
Okay.
Okay, so any more issue? Let me see here. Wait a second. Any other question regarding isotenel? Going back, I don't know. We have to resolve this, and I don't have a solution now.
That and 4C, I have no idea what to run for the first lab, other than error analysis stuff.
4C, how are you studying? Oh, you
Optics.
have to have optics.
So just working with the lenses.
Vernier. Oh yeah, vernier. You can use lenses, mirrors. He started making a base with the old Pascal equivalent, so that you can run experiments with refraction. And I don't know the status of it. How many of them we have?
10 set.
We have 10 sets.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
we'll get to refraction in that stuff.
yeah. So I think we have equipment for that.
I just want to make sure everyone. I'm the only 4C teacher.
You are the only 4C. There is only one session.
Okay.
We don't have enough students to
Right, so
settle
not, there's
it.
no will there be any 2B running at the same time, the optics stuff?
Not really, and you have, and
2B will do it
digital
later, okay.
has a, yeah, you're gonna be in the evening, which day?
Monday, Wednesday, I think.
Yes,
Monday and Wednesday.
and the lab's gonna be, astronomy lab's gonna be Tuesday and Thursday, so in the evening, so we are well covered. And the Astro 10L, as far as I know, is gonna be here. The last item is the equipment purchasing general wish list. The dean asked us to come up with our goals for the departments. So we have to think about goals for physics and astronomy. I think the major goal we have is to hire somebody, basically. But as far as equipment is concerned, you
Yeah, I have
Van
the
has the
list-
word.
Yeah, I have the list of equipment. Here we have 11 more speaker, 11 more resonance.
Oh, that's for the resonance
Yeah.
tube.
And,
Oh, good, thanks.
Yeah, and this is the expensive one, photoelectric effect system.
Those are $1,000 a piece.
This,
Oh,
this
Did
I will
buy
show
it?
you.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
I will show
You
you.
don't have a chance. Okay.
Yeah.
That's $1,000.
no, that one is if
Photoelectric.
without the DC current and power supply is 1,999, so 2,000.
No,
Plus tax.
C1 Fund is going to solve that for us.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean? Oh yeah, I didn't even see it.
No.
You're gonna design a photoelectric effect
Okay, I will try to do it. Yeah.
lab for us.
Without that.
So 4C, right?
4C.
4C, that's for 4C.
You have the equipment, right?
I will
Okay.
show you. Yeah, and you have to
We'll show you
put
what we got.
I was trying to look for it.
Yes.
The last time I was.
We don't have it yet.
Oh, you don't have
Oh,
it?
we have it.
No,
No, for the Planck function, the Planck constant.
the photoelectric.
Yeah,
effect
he's-
system,
He's gonna
When
try
I
an
talked to you, I
equipment.
assumed we had nothing here to work with, but apparently there's some equipment that we can recycle,
He can tweak a little bit.
tweak a
and-
little bit to get the same effect.
Okay,
And so we may save ourselves some money there.
okay.
Yeah.
So you found it here?
I don't know where he is.
No, I'm
He
putting him
hasn't,
in the
he hasn't
fire.
seen it yet.
He
so-
mentioned to me.
Oh, okay. So nothing.
So
right?
if you have the manual, do you have the manual?
No.
Mechanics, biomechanics? No.
Oh, you mean
Vernier.
the catalog?
The vernier mechanics, yeah.
You mean the catalog or the
Yes.
manual?
The manual. There are two manuals, one for mechanics, one's called Beyond Mechanics.
Oh, you mean
Vernier.
You mean the lab?
Yes,
You mean the lab? book?
yes,
No.
yeah.
I think you have it. Remember when
I
we
have
recorded
I have one,
the
yeah.
lab book?
I
But this,
I will show you. I'll show you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, when I was taught the physics, not the physics, the astronomy 10 lab, the one very good experiment was the thermal pile. You know, the little detector. There's like
Yeah,
only
we
about
have
6
six
of
of them.
them. If you got money, can you get more of those? You know, because the next time I teach that lab, I can use
the
it.
thermal
The little detector, the thermal pile detector.
Yeah.
Is it? You know, remember the one that
Oh,
you said you couldn't find it?
I don't know if they still make those ones. But yeah.
oh, that one.
You know, the little
Only six
detector.
ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know what
Because you know the 10L class usually is pretty big. You know. The last time
For
we
the
used it,
10L, you can use the Alta Vista, but we have only 6 of them. The Alta Vista photometer.
the one that.
Yeah, it's a black thing, and then
Oh, yeah, I think you mentioned about in the cabinet, right?
yeah.
But the thermal power is really easy to work with. You, know, you don't need a computer.
yeah,
You just need a
it's much
voltmeter,
easier,
and
yeah.
then, you know, it's just
Yeah.
comes up. You know.
What lab do you run with that one?
10L. I was doing the 10L astronomy 10L.
No, specifically what lab were you, topic were you talking?
I think inverse.
Inverse square law.
Inverse square law.
Oh, okay.
Inverse square
So
law.
you
yeah.
could use vernier too. I mean, we have a light detector.
Yeah,
we
we're
have
using
laser,
photometers with
and
the
then you
light
can,
bulbs.
you can use that.
Oh, okay.
It works.
They use the entire length of this room here to go further.
Yeah, I think
Really?
he doesn't
Yeah.
need it. We can do with the vernier. I can show him.
we were talking about.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Inverse square law for what?
Inverse square law.
For astronomy, 10.
How intensity of sound waves or light waves decreases. Okay,
astronomy.
But you can use in physics too. For C, you could play there. Okay, any more? I gotta go.
Oh,
Any
did
other items?
the spectrometer stuff up at the the observatory? Did Rick ever hook that up and see if it works?
Did you hear, Rick?
Yeah, I heard you, Mike. I haven't had a chance to try it. I will be there on Wednesday evening.
Okay.
I have a workshop up there with the meetup people. I think I'm going to have maybe about 20 people up there,
Okay.
or it could be maybe 5 people. I don't know. For the telescope workshop.
Okay.
Then, if it's not that crowded, then I could probably work on doing that project that we were talking about.
Yeah. All we need is just a reading from one star just to see if it actually works.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's all we need, and then compare it to, just the absorption spectra of that type of star to see if it correlates. And if it does, then we can start developing a lab for that.
Oh yeah. I will have to probably come down there and get the lab quests and see if I can collect the data on that.
Oh, I thought I brought the LabQuest thing up there already.
Did you put it in the room?
Yeah, the spectrometer, the fiber optic, and the LabQuest should be up there. There should be in the back in that small office room up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I have to do is get that special coupler that's in the workroom down there at SA 111, or
Okay.
it's in the back room.
Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, if we can do that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'll be up there Wednesday at about 7:30.
Okay. I'll be teaching on Wednesday probably till about 8:30 or so. So we might be able to connect afterwards and see if that works.
Okay, yeah. I think there's someone else that has a lab class that night. Is it Olinka?
On Wednesday?
We have 10L on Tuesdays and Thursdays evening. That's my understanding.
You teach 2B, 4C,
4C this time,
4B.
not 4B. I taught that last semester.
Okay, so 4C and
4C, 1, astronomy 10, astronomy 10L.
only one physics. One physics.
4B.
No, 4C and 1.
I'm
So
teaching
two
4B.
Two physics.
All right.
You teach
4B.
4B.
teach 2A also.
You 4A,
No,
No,
Olympia is
4A,
teaching 2B.
4B, 4C.
You're teaching 2A also.
I'm teaching 2A.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
2A,
Yeah.
and 4B.
Yes.
So common is 2A.
Yeah.
But there's no common. Nobody is teaching 4B theory. Only one person.
Only, there is only 2 sections in the morning.
Oh, there's
Should be.
3 4A sections.
There are
One 4A is teaching.
There are 4 4A sections. 2 in the morning, 1 in weekend, and 1 in the evening, right? Who's teaching 4A in the evening? No, I don't think she's teaching 4A.
Paul?
Paul's in the morning. Or perhaps we have only 3
Oh,
4A
that's what
sections.
you're telling. Just now you said 3.
Yeah.
It takes 2. Is it a combined one or
The sections in the morning, we try to combine them.
a lecture?
And yeah, we combine the lecture, but the labs
Lab
are
is
independent.
separate.
They have to be independent. Okay, I will type and send these documents over the weekend, hopefully. Thanks for you all for coming.
Okay, bye-bye.
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 Bye, Ray.
Bye.